Hi, in this video we're going to go over the basics of algebraic fractions. That includes simplifying, adding, subtracting, and multiplying, dividing, and a few harder questions that are more popular with the GC questions, mainly for Edexcel. So first, we'll look at simplifying algebraic fractions. Key rule here, and for everything we're doing right now, is you always want to factorise first. So let's go for the first question, and we're going to factorise top and bottom, and then see what jumps out. So for my numerator, should see what a common factor of 4, so we can factorise out that factor of 4. And for the denominator, our common factor of x. Now we factorise this, we notice we have the same term, x plus 2 and x plus 2. They can both cancel out, so we're just left with 4 over x. And that is the only way you can simplify fractions. We have the same term in two places, and then cancel them both out. So let's put the same idea to a slightly harder question. Here, we're going to start the exact same way. We're going to simplify the numerator and the denominator. For the numerator, we want two numbers that multiply to give us 8 and add to give us 6. That is going to be 4 and 2. And for the denominator, we're looking for two numbers that multiply to give us minus 20 and add to give us minus 1. That is going to be plus 4 and minus 5. And same as before, we have the case with two terms that are the same, so we can cancel both these out, and then our final simplified answer is just x plus 2 over x minus 5. And that's pretty much it. It will get slightly harder. You'll occasionally see stuff with a 3x squared or 2x squared, anything like that. Let's go through that as well. If I want to factorise this numerator, we basically have 3 steps. First step, we need to times these two numbers together, which gives me a minus 12. We are now looking for two numbers that multiply to give me minus 12, and they need to add to give me 4, which is that middle term there. Working that out isn't so bad. We have 6 and minus 2. Now that there tells us how the plus 4x, the term in the middle, is going to split in half. So first we multiply and work this out. My second step is we need to write this again, but split that middle term using the two numbers we just found, which was 6 and minus 2. And then for our final step, we can now factorise this by using the grid method. So we grid it out, and these 4 terms are the form term that's go inside the grid, and we can then factorise it from there. So here our common factor of x, here it's 3x, and just going through the rest. Okay, so we've now factorised my numerator, and that was 3x minus 2, x plus 2, yeah. And then we do the same thing for the denominator. Denominator again is a special case. This is a difference of 2 squares. This basically you've just got x squared and a number, and that number is always a square number. Here we're looking for two numbers that multiply to give us minus 4, and they must add to give us 0 because we have no x's. This will be plus 2 and minus 2. Then again, these terms cancel out and we have finished. So that's the first step, that is simplifying algebraic fractions. Now we're going to move on to look at adding and subtracting these algebraic fractions. And again, this works the exact same way you would do for normal fractions. You'd want to find a common denominator. For this question, we should see the common denominator is going to be 12, because that's just 4 times 3. For the left-hand side equation, I've tripled it all. So x plus 2 will become 3 lots of x plus 2, and when you expand that out, that will become 3x plus 6. This equation times all by 4 will now become 4x minus 4. Now we need to work out what goes in my numerator. So we've got 3x, take away 4x, that will give me minus x, and we've then got plus 6, take away minus 4. Note the double negative there, which will give us a plus. So it's going to be minus x plus 10 all over 12. Okay, hopefully that wasn't too confusing. Same idea again, but here we have the x on the bottom of the fraction. We go through the exact same steps. First step, we are going to find a common denominator. That is just my two denominators times together. And fairly importantly, for most of these questions, there's actually no reason ever to expand these out. Just keep it as two brackets, x plus 1 and x plus 2. Then we look at both the left and right hand side and we see what we've multiplied by. For the left hand side, I have times by x plus 2. For the right hand side, I have times by x plus 1. So we do 3 times x plus 2, that's expanding brackets. That means 3 brackets x plus 2. So that will give us 3x plus 6. For the right hand side, we times by x plus 1. And when we expand a bracket, that will be 2x plus 2. Then here we're just adding. So we add together our two numerators, will give us 5x plus 8 all over x plus 1, x plus 2. Note, occasionally it's quite rare, this will cancel out one of these terms here. So it's going to check if you can factorize this and you do want to do that to see if anything will cancel out. It's quite rare, but it will happen on occasion. Okay, just do one more like that to get you the basic idea. So again, your first step is always the same. Your first step, you need to find a common denominator, which you can always find quite easily just by multiplying your two terms together. Next, for this one, I have timesed it by x plus 2. That's the new term there. So this will be x squared plus 2x. For this one, the new term is x minus 2. So we times it by x minus 2. Then we take away the two fractions. Will give us x squared. We've got 2x, take away 3x is minus x. And we've got minus 6 becomes a plus. Okay, that doesn't change. And now, like I said, you want to do your typical diligence. Does the numerator factorize? In this case, it doesn't. So that's all we can do, so we leave it there. One more case that you'll occasionally see, that is where you have 3 terms to add or subtract. I would say just do this all in one go. I'm going to find one big common denominator, and that is going to be all my 3 terms times together. So x plus 1, x minus 2. I do that for all of them, and now I need to work out the numerators. So to work out the numerators, we need to add on every single new term. So here it will be 2, and the new terms are x plus 1 and x minus 2. Here the new term is x and x minus 2, and here the new terms are x and x plus 1. This very involved. Next we need to do is we need to expand all my numerators. So going for that really quickly, you can check if you need to. That will give you this for the first term, this for the middle term, and this for the last term. Okay, all these have a common denominator, so I can write it as one big fraction, which is x plus 1, x minus 2. Then we just group together all my numerators. So looking at the x squareds, I've got 2x squared plus x squared minus 3x squared. That is nothing, that cancels out. Next, looking at my x's, I have minus 2x plus 3x. That will give me minus x. And again, it's still over the same fraction. And lastly, looking at the numbers, we have minus 4, and that is it. So it's just minus x minus 4. And then we're done. From what I've seen, that's pretty much as hard as it will get for adding or subtracting fractions. A slight edge case isn't necessarily harder. We can also occasionally work with whole numbers. So here we need to find a common denominator. This 2 is basically 2 over 1. So your common denominator will just be x plus 3. The right hand side doesn't change, but here I've times everything by x plus 3, so that will become 2x plus 6. Then when you add them together, you get 3x plus 7 over x plus 3. So a bit of a special case when you just have a whole number. Again, it works the same way when you take things away. You'd write this as 4 over 1, and then write this as a common denominator as both things over x plus 5. Okay, moving on to multiplying and dividing fractions. So multiplying fractions is easy to do. You just do top times top and bottom times bottom. So here, let's do that. Top times top will be 12x cubed, and bottom times bottom will just be 35. And that's it, that's all you need to do. So working with algebra hasn't really made this any harder, but as no surprise, it will do. So here we've got quite a complicated term. It's going to work out that we can simplify this, but it's not always obvious how you simplify it. In order to do this, we need to factorise it first. That's always the same thing we're going to do. So anything I can factorise, I'm going to. So the left-hand side cannot factorise. The right-hand side, I can factorise my numerator, because I have a common factor of x, and the denominator, I have a common factor of 4. Now, when we simplify fractions, we simplify along the diagonals. That is, I can simplify with these two terms and also with these two terms. So let's do that now. We can see on this diagonal, I have a common factor of x plus 2. So left with a 1 here. Here I have a common factor of x, so this x goes, and this cube now becomes a squared. Now we can times them together. We have 1 times x minus 2 is just x minus 2. And here we have x squared times 4, and that would just be 4x squared. And for the most part, that's as hard as it's going to get. Let's try the same idea, but with dividing. So when you divide fractions, the key rule that I'm sure you've heard loads of times is you are going to flip and multiply. So we write the left-hand side down again. We're then going to flip the right fraction upside down and then multiply them together. Then, just like the previous question, we are going to solve this by factorising everything and seeing what's going to cancel out. So I will factorise that really quickly. I won't explain all of it, because hopefully you can do that by now. And again, with these terms slightly harder, you want to do 2 times 15 is 30, 2 times multiplied to give you minus 30, add to give you minus 1, that's 6 and 5. Then split it and then grid it. Once you've done that, you will get it into that form there. And then the right hand side, actually pretty straightforward. Okay, so once you've done that, we can now see what's going to cancel out. I have a common factor of x plus 4, I have a common factor of 2x plus 5. And that's it, nothing else is the same. We then multiply together what's left. I've got 2 x plus 3 over x minus 3. And again, there's no reason to expand any of that unless you are explicitly asked to in a question. Otherwise, leave it like that. That is fine for an answer. Okay, there's one more thing to do. A few questions that are coming out in the new GCSEs tend to have 3 parts of a whole number in for some reason. We're going to go over this now. Again, we can have it before, but it's a bit of a strange case, so I thought I'd give it its own little section. First things first, write any whole number as a fraction over 1. Next, for adding or subtracting, we need to find a common denominator. For this case, it's going to be x plus 1 and x minus 1. So all our 3 fractions over x plus 1, x minus 1. Next, we need to work out our numerators. So here, I have 2 new terms at the bottom, so I need both those new terms at the top. Here my only new term is x minus 1, so I add that in the top, and here my only new term is x plus 1. Then we can expand it all out and write it all over a common denominator. And again, the more you do this, the faster you do tend to get. Here, be careful, we're taking away x plus 1. That means we're taking away the x and the 1. You can almost think of this like a minus 1 then a brackets. That's how it behaves in terms of the maths. Then we just simplify it all together and we are done. Okay, it's not hugely different, but it looks a bit strange when you first see that as a question. So we have 4x squared. My x's, I have 2x take away x. And for my numbers, it's minus 4, minus 2, minus 1 is minus 7. And that's it. We are done. There's no way you can factorise this numerator, so there's no point even trying. And that's all you need to do. Hope you found that helpful, and thanks for listening.